All right. So I don't want to get into a comment back and forth because a lot of the times I use YouTube on a tablet and I don't like picking out the letters. I don't even like typing on a keyboard anymore because I always end up hitting insert home or something and ending up somewhere else, and it's just annoying. Uh, Plus, you can communicate so much more in a video that it's just not, I don't think it's worth trying to type it all out. But anyway, I'm having an argument with a guy about where racism came from. I guess it's an argument, it's not. We're just talking, it's good. I got no animosity. And he's saying that every culture had slavery, and I'm like, not really responding because it's a very specific view of what racism is. In some ways, it's an American view of what racism is. So I don't know if this guy lives in America or not. And I don't think it's refined. I don't think it's just America, but definitely it's true in America. And what is that concept of racism is that after the slave trade, Henry the Navigator and his biographer created the notion of race in the English language. It just did not exist before. As a term, as terminology. And so that's what Kendi says. Kendi. I just read his How to Be an Anti-Racist, and I'm reading White Fragility. I don't know where I put it. And they're all very much focused on the racism that surrounds you if you live in America. But sometimes they generalize to the world. But that's the relevant slavery. And for me, it's slavery to this current day, because I believe every person in prison for any kind of drug crime, selling, owning, using, except for using and then driving, like being intoxicated is not cool. But if you have cocaine on you, that's an unjust enslavement. And if you're convicted of having cocaine, you go to prison where you are enslaved. And that's legal and constitutional. And it's definitely a reality. Why? Because we live in a culture. And so why is that racism? Because Nixon said explicitly, we want to get the hippies and the blacks and target them and ruin their lives because it's good for us politically, and we can get more support for our policies. And so even if it weren't a racist policy, the drug war, it's kind of an anti-human policy because drugs are a natural thing to be curious about and to want to use. Imagine if there was a drug that made you a superhero. That would be a very important drug. It would become illegal right away, right? And then whoever had it would dominate others, right? So, like, obviously drugs, like, nobody would say, no, I wouldn't use a drug that makes me a superhero. So cocaine makes you feel like a superhero, or pot, or heroin, or whatever it is. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't regulate drugs. I do think legalizing them is just one step. But anyway, I'm not going to have a discussion about slavery in Egypt or Mongolian slavery or slavery in the Aztec society when right now there are people that are enslaved unjustly in my country. And I've disavowed the country. I don't even support any part of old America except for some of its mental health care policies. I mean, honestly, it's new America for me. and I've left this nation emotionally, entirely. I think it's time to start a new nation. Some people talk about starting a new party so that they can beat the Democrats or the Republicans. I'm on the new nation kick. I think we need to start a new nation. And it's very hard to do that when real estate is so hard to come by and every other trapping of modern society that has to do with politics and nationality. Like, it's not easy to make new America, but it just, to me, it seems obvious that old America looks like a creaking, leaking pile of trash, and it's just a total mess. And what sucks is that you can't go done. You can't, because old America has new Americans in its jails, and they aren't free yet. So you need to not just found a new nation, but you have to figure out how to get people out of jail, like break them out and give them freedom and compensate them for their time. And I can do none of these things. So I'm not interested in talking about slavery as like a human universal when clearly it's relevant. It shouldn't be like a surprise to talk about slavery when you're talking about racism, because historically and to this day that has a lot of relevance. But that's just my reason functioning. So I think this is better than a comment. Take care, man. Take care, everybody. Bye.